Now we move forward to the high speed, right? High speed steel, or which is very common known as HSS. Okay, so HSS is an alloy tool steel known for its ability to retain hardness at a high temperatures, making it ideal for cutting tools. So high speed steel is an alloy. Obviously, we are discussing the alloy chapter, so here it will be all of the alloy. Okay, an alloy tool is still known for its ability to retain hardness. So what is it can retain their hardness. Why hard? What is hardness? Hardness means at the surface you cannot scratch. Okay, so here the surface of that material is very hard. Okay, and that is known as hardness. So if you will try to scratch on the surface, it will not respond, and there nothing will be impression would be on the surface. So an impression of that sketching will not be imprint over the surface. Is known as hardness. If high hardness, or you can think about if you will try to you know mm, pin something, then the pinning action will not be happen on the surface of harder materials, because that is this nature, that is their property of having the more hardness, that it means it will not allow to indent anything inside their surface. Okay, this is hardness. So why hardness is required? So for the any kind of the cutting tool means I hope that you have seen the lathe machine. So in this machine we use a cutting tool, okay, through which we do the machinability of any material, or most of the time it's metals. Okay, so for the metals cutting we need a cutter that must be of higher hardness, otherwise it would not be cut, right? If the cutting material is less harder, then it will not cut the parent materials. Okay, so for that we required a harder materials. Okay, so the good harder material is going to be used as a cutting tool. Cutting tool means the cutting tool of the shaper machine, lathe machines. These all are the machines where it is going to be used as a cutting tools. So why cutting tool is of harder materials? Because it will cut the metal. Okay, and at a very high speed. I hope that you have seen the lathe machine. So in lathe machine, the speed of that groove is very hard. Okay, sorry, very high, and that at particular speed they have to resist themselves and cut at the same time. They have to cut the material as well. So hardness is very important at that particular applications. And along with that, they have the high temperature as well, right? Because when the two metals comes into contact, as in case of the lace machines, take an example, the one of the job which is going to be machined, that is mounted on the lathe machine of the one part, and they are rotating at a some 300 rpm, right? So they have a higher speed. Okay, they are revolving around and around in a circle. Okay, and then the other material which is the tool, okay, and touch the surfaces of that machining components, or the jobs which is going to be the machine, and then it cuts. So at that particular high speed, the temperature is also high when the two materials come into contact, right? So contact also generates a heat. So at that particular heat, if they have the higher or harder materials, then it will not get melted, otherwise it will get melt. Sometimes you have, I hope that you have seen, okay, while you have done your practical on lathe machines, then if you have the soft material as a job of your lathe machine, and you have kept a very high speed, okay, suppose 500 is 500 rpm, and then you are applying with the cutting machine to cut the cutting cutting tool to cut that particular job, then sometimes you have seen that the material, the job has already been melted. Okay, and due to the melting, their the surface finish gets disturbed. Okay, and sometimes you have seen uh, um, um, build-up edge, right? So build-up edge happens on the just face of the tools because that is of the material or that is due to the temperatures due to the high temperatures there is a heating nature, and at a heating nature the material gets soft a little bit, and the material of the foreign materials like the objective I mean, the material that is going to be machined, that part will be get stick on the tool, and it is like the build-up page that we need to regrind, or sometimes we need to resurface or remove the build-up edge so that our tool will work in a regular manner, right? So this is the function of tool. Okay, and sorry, this is this build-up edge is due to temperature, high temperature between the metal contact. Okay, so whenever the metal to metal contacts, and especially when they are at a higher speed, the temperature rising up. Okay, that is not desirable, and that must I if the and that we cannot control as well, right? So for that we must have a harder material which will be used as a tool or cutting tool. If you got the idea. Now we talk about compositions, right? So carbon 0.06 to 1.5% of carbon of hardness, right? Tungstens. So why this much amount of carbon for the hardness? It is for we talk about the tungstens, W, molybdenum, increase the hardness and wear resistance. We talk about the chromium, then it enhance the hardness and corrosion resistance. The corrosion is also important. If the tool is, suppose you have a tool, okay, and you have just left in just, for dead condition. I mean, you have just left the you have just turned off the machine and you have left for 2 days, right? And after now, if you want to, use that machine, and you have come up, so they are in environment contact, right? And due to the environmental contact, if they have corroded, they have the corrosion, then it will be not affected, and their strength will be compromised. Okay, so the tool machine must have also be of higher corrosion resistance. So corrosion resistance means, I mean, the ability of a material to oxide with the environmental oxygens to get erode over the surface. Okay, that is corrosion, as we have all seen in rusting of iron, right? When you leave the iron into the environment, or sometime in the night conditions, then they get reacted with the oxygens, and they have the rusting natures. Okay, and they erode the surface of, and due to eroding, due to the rusting or due to the corrosion, basically the material strength gets compromised, and which is undesirable things we must have to encounter. So for tool, if we see the same kind of the behavior, then we will have to change the tool frequently, and that we cannot compensate, that we cannot bear, which is not economically feasible. Okay, that's why we must have to take care of the corrosion resistance for the tool according to as well. Okay, so corrosion resistance is also important properties that we most of the times have a desire when we make a component. Sometimes it's not about the tools. Sometimes the component that is going to be used in a machine or in automobiles, that is very frequently exposed to the environment, right? And if they are going to react with environmental oxygens, and they make kind of that corrosion, okay, that kind of the reactions that will erode the surface, and overall the component will have the less strength. Okay, and that will ultimately decrease the strength of that part, and that part will break anytime. that is not desirable, that is not feasible. So that is also not required. So for that, we must have to take care of that all of our, such components must be of corrosion resistant materials. So vanadium, this is it improve the grain refinement and wear resistance. We talk about the cobalt, enhance the red hardness. Okay, ability hardness means the ability to retain hardness at a high temperature. This is the red hardness. So normal hardness is, as I have already discussed. If we talk about the red hardness means the hardness which is also capable. I mean, it's a material which can show their hardness at a higher temperature as well. Okay, so when they got heat up and still they are showing their hardness, because whenever the temperatures gets high, it means they are having the more energy and they get flexible, they have showing the you kind of softness. So in that softness, you can easily uh, you know induct anything, or you can say directly that their hardness has been compromised. Okay, but some materials, they show at a high temperature. I mean, being on a higher temperature, if still they are showing their hardness in the same, it means they are regaining their hardness at their particular temperature, is known as the red hardness. Normal temperature, it is a normal hardness, but if a higher temperature, they are showing hardness, it is known as red hardness. Okay, so we talk about the properties. The higher hardness, wear resistance. This is the property of higher states. Excellent red hardness, retain the strength and sharpness. अरे यार क्या and sharpness at the cutting temperatures up to 600 to 650 degrees C. Good toughness for impact resistance. Now, the type of high steel, high speed resistant HSS. The tungsten based T type and M based the molybdenum type. Okay, so if tungsten T type, it means high tungsten content of 18%. Example of T1 HSS. Molybdenum types, then the high molybdenum wave of 5 to 10% only. Okay. Example of M2 HSS, most commonly used. So what is the most commonly used HSS? Is the molybdenum based, right? If we talk about the applications, then the cutting tools, example drilling, milling, cutters, reamers. I have already taken the example, which is of the lathe machines. Okay, so they have a tool. So obvious, most of the time HSS is being used for the best example is of the tools. Either it's cutting tools, either it's shaping tools, drilling tools. That doesn't matter, but all of the times either they are being used in as a tools. Power saw blades, wear resistance parts like the punches and dies. So punches and dies both have this application as well, because punches and dies are going to use frequently again and again, again and again. So they required things which have the properties which shown by HSS. So HSS has very vast application in the machining applications. Most of the time for the machining, I mean, whatever the things that you will learn in the machining engineering, okay, or machining parts, that all required a tool, and that all tools basically of high speed steel. So HSS is the most you know uh, variable applications are in machining tools.